I'm a big believer. Well, with the Christian McCaffrey trade, I thought, and this is a rare instance where I thought that there were multiple winners. I thought that the 49ers won because they wanted another weapon and they got it. And I thought that the Carolina Panthers, absolutely, Dan, that they did the right thing. They were in a situation where they went on the prices. When they went home too, they realized, oh my God, I don't even have enough money to pay my mortgage. I don't have enough money to like pay these student loan bills. I don't have enough money to buy food. So then what's the optimal thing to do in that situation, Dan?
Sell the car?
Exactly. Sell the Bentley and get yourself back on your feet. And that's what the Carolina Panthers did. They're going to get a $1 billion draft. Well, they get 4 draft. They get a second, third, and fourth in the upcoming draft, and then the 5th the next year. So they're getting 4 draft picks, in quality draft picks. So they're going to be able to bolster this roster very quickly, very similar to a team that we just saw put the screws to the Chargers. And that's the Seahawks, who just Kenneth Walker Jr. just broke for long, and now it's 37-16. And this is embarrassing for the Chargers, because they have been undressed by the Seahawks and by the Jaguars.
And Brock Purdy just threw an interception for the 49ers in the end zone, so the Chiefs will run out the clock. Going to win that one 44-23. I want to quick tell you that we're going to get to Kevin Figures. Then we're going to get to Bo Benson, and then I'm going to tell you this story that happened with the Browns and Ravens today. But
Welcome to the greatest show on hardwood.
Left side of the circle, it's money, cold, hard cash for Stephen Curry.
The NBA champions are back to defend their title. And it starts now. This is Warriors Live.
Holy cannoli, this is crazy.
Presented by Xfinity. Supercharge your home with supersonic Wi-Fi. Unbeatable internet, only from Xfinity.
Warriors and the Sacramento Kings tonight from Chase Center. John Dickinson inside Chase Center as the Warriors wrapping up their season opening homestand with the ball game against their NorCal rivals. That's right, the Sacramento Kings, although not much of a true rivalry over the course of the Kings' existence in Northern California, coinciding with the Warriors' time, obviously, in the Bay. Sacramento been in the NBA in Sacramento since 1985, and at no point in the time since the Sacramento Kings franchise has been located in Sacramento have both the Warriors and the Kings been a good team. So there hasn't been much of a rivalry, although over the years both teams have been bad. Warriors have obviously been good with the Kings being bad. The Kings, their 8-year run of being a good team, really the only 8-year stretch that they've been a good team since 1985, from 99 to 2006, was at a point where the Warriors were the dregs of the NBA. And the Kings come in a team that has failed to make the playoffs for the last 16 years. That's right. You got to go all the way back to 2006, the last time the Kings made the NBA playoffs. Now the longest streak in the 4 major sports, with the Seattle Mariners making the playoffs just a couple of weeks ago. In baseball, they hadn't made it since 2001, so a 21-year gap, and now you move Sacramento up to the top of the heap as far as franchises, again, in the 4 major sports, the NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, and the National Hockey League. The Kings are at that top of the mountain in terms of fewest and longest drought since they last made the playoffs. Warriors trying to bounce back following their first loss of the season in this building on Friday night, with the Denver Nuggets putting a thumping on the Warriors in the first half and building what would be a 20-point lead in the second half before the Warriors came back, made a game of it in the third and fourth quarters. Down 10, though, with about a minute left. Warriors almost had one of the craziest comebacks you'll ever see before ultimately falling in that one to the Nuggets, 128 to 123. So Warriors trying to bounce back. Sacramento second of a back-to-back, and Mike Brown and company come into this one at 0-2. So the Kings have played a couple of home games rather to start this season, losing close ones to both Portland and the Clippers, and it's the second of a back-to-back for Sacramento. The Kings lost last night at home to the Clippers, 111-109. So the Kings thirsty and believing that they've turned things around and are a much improved team, led by Mike Brown, of course, who spent the last 6 years on Steve Kerr's staff before agreeing to terms to be the head coach of the Sacramento Kings during the playoffs. And if you recall, going back to the spring, Mike Brown met with the Kings and they finalized a contract and everything was agreed to as far as the terms. And just a couple of days after Mike Brown had agreed to be the head coach of the Kings once the season ended for the Warriors, that went all the way into June with the Warriors winning the NBA championship. But a couple of days later, that's when Steve Kerr wound up in the health and safety protocols. And so Mike Brown, as he had to do at different points, found himself coaching in the playoffs as the head coach. So you had Mike Brown in his time as a trusted assistant to Steve Kerr, coaching the Warriors in the playoffs as the head man after he had agreed to take over as the head man for the Sacramento Kings. So something a little bit unique going back to the spring. And, of course, Mike Brown did take over for Steve Kerr in other years at times as well, including a playoff run back in, 2017. And a run that led up to Steve Kerr returning in the NBA Finals with the Warriors winning that championship back in that 2016-17 season, the first year of Kevin Durant. Going to be a special night for Mike Brown as part of this. Leandro Barbosa as well, a member of the Warriors organization and member of the Warriors championship team in 2014-2015. Leandro Barbosa coming back. And there should be a lot of hugs and a lot of lusty ovations for both Brown and Barbosa in what is going to be a special afternoon and evening here prior to tip-off, as the Warriors are set to honor both Mike Brown and Leandro Barbosa. They will be presented with their championship rings before the ball game. And Mike Brown just got a chance to listen to his pregame press conference. So let's hear from him. He addressed just how special it's going to be and how special his time was with the Warriors.
It's going to be special. I got my mom in town, my girl's in town, her kids are in town. My boys would be, but they're adults and they got their thing going on right now. So I couldn't ask for a better group of people to be here with me on this special night. You know, I started with Joe Lacob, Peter Gruber, Bob Myers and his group, Steve Kerr, and then you factor in Draymond and Andre and Steph and Clay and Loon and Dot, and I learned so much here, and they embraced me right away. All I have are fond memories here. I mean, that it was fantastic. I owe them a lot. I thank them for allowing me to be a part. I'm more than thrilled to be able to come back here and get a ring in this building at this time of the year. This is fantastic for me.
Yeah, fantastic for him, fantastic for the Warriors part of things, of course, celebrating a championship, and that is going to be one of the fun parts as players and former members of the organization come through during the course of this season. You had the main ring ceremony on opening night, but others are going to trickle through here with opportunities to get their rings as well. So Mike Brown, Leandro Barbosa, count them in for this one prior to the game. Should be a fun event here leading up to this one. And then a couple of teams that need a win. The Warriors looking to bounce back and have really, tonight is the difference between a solid homestand or solid to good homestand and what would be considered, should they take a loss, a bad homestand if you somehow lose this one at home to the Sacramento Kings, coming off the loss on Friday night to Denver, unable to pull the rabbit out of the hat in that one late. And then, as I mentioned, the Kings looking for their first win of the season and what will be their first road game of the season. The Warriors' first road game coming up on Tuesday down in the Valley of the Sun when they go at it against the Phoenix Suns. It's Warriors Live, presented by Xfinity. John Dickinson inside Chase Center. Xfinity Internet. Better streaming with our Flex 4K device, voice remote, and Peacock Premium. All at no extra cost. No strings attached. We're getting you closer to the Warriors and those Sacramento Kings. What do the Warriors need to do better from Friday night into tonight? Well, they got to get off to a better start, and they got to be the kind of team that wants to put a defensive imprint on the game from the jump. It was very early on Friday where you had the feeling that it was going to be kind of an open gym game and that defense optional, and the Warriors, it was just one of those nights, and I think one of those nights with a team coming off of winning an NBA championship where there's going to be a handful of these where it's going to be, hey, try to outscore a team and see if you can win, even if it's against a very good team. And I think that could put the Warriors in position on some nights where they are having that uphill climb as they had in the game on Friday night. But to me, it's get off to a better start with more of a forceful defensive imprint on the game, because the Kings can score it. The Kings can fill it up. And you look at De'Aaron Fox these last couple of games. He had 36 points last night. He had 33 points in Sacramento's opener, and he's even been knocking down the three ball. Career, not a great three-point shooter, but he had 5 of 9 in their opener. He hit 3 of 5 from 3 last night, and he's really been in attack mode, looking for his own shot, looks to get out in transition, even after makes, and penetrate, get into the lane, hit that little turnaround lefty shot from 5-10 feet if he can get into the lane. The Kings have also been, Kevin Huerter, his backcourt mate. Atlanta basically gave away Kevin Huerter to anybody that was willing to take his newly extended contract, and Sacramento said, we'll take him. And so Kevin Huerter, after spending his career with the Hawks to this point, he winds up in Sacramento, and he's been had a nice start to the season from three-point range. You look at Huerter in the 2 games, 11 for 17 from 3 in the first 2 games. So he's been rolling. Of course, Warrior fans know Harrison Barnes, who's off to a little bit of a slow start. Domantas Sabonis can be somebody that can be very skilled in the paint, and the Kings will run a lot of their offense through Domantas Sabonis, even at the high post. They're looking to try and get a little bit more motion into their offense, and then all eyes are going to be on the young rookie who made his NBA debut last night, Keegan Murray, for Sacramento. This dude just doesn't miss. Efficient, can shoot the 3 ball. He was 7 of 10 last night, 19 points. He can defend a little bit. He got locked up on Paul George late as Sacramento was trying to come back from 10 down, and that one eventually made it a close game. And while not in the starting lineup last night, and he missed the opener due to the health and safety protocols and COVID, he's somebody that if it's not tonight, and it could be tonight, but if it's not tonight, he's going to be in the starting lineup for those Sacramento Kings and in that starting lineup for a long time. So this is the kind of opponent that when the Warriors through the years have taken them seriously, the Warriors have handled their business against the Sacramento Kings, as most good teams are able to do. But when the Warriors have had the type of mentality like they had against the Nuggets, the Kings have at times given them fits and forced the Warriors to try and steal a game late, as they tried to do against the Nuggets on Friday night, and ultimately came up short. So Warriors Live here on 95.7 The Game. Let's get to our injury report, which is brought to you by Boxer and Gerson. Today's injury report brought to you by Boxer and Gerson, Northern California's premier workers' compensation law firm, helping injured workers get their lives back for over 40 years. More info at boxerlaw.com. And checking the injury report. Good news for the Warriors and really both teams. Sacramento with no injuries to report on the injury report whatsoever. And you look at the Warriors, Patrick Baldwin Jr. set to be active for the first time in his career. Right thumb sprain has kept him out of these first 2 games for the Warriors. But Patrick Baldwin Jr. cleared. Steve Kerr said he'd be good to go. Not sure if he's actually going to get in the game. You'd figure that Baldwin Jr. would be out of the rotation, but you never know. If the Warriors can turn this game into a blowout, maybe he does wind up making his NBA debut in this one tonight. You also never know when Steve Kerr is going to put somebody in a game. I mean, that is the beauty of being a bench player for Steve Kerr. He does tend to adjust and tinker and throw somebody out there maybe when you're least expecting it. So Patrick Baldwin at least has the opportunity tonight to maybe get a few minutes if Steve Kerr has a wild hair or the Warriors can turn this game into a blowout. But all told, that is basically the injury report for the Warriors. Andre Iguodala remains out. No season debut for Iguodala tonight with the left hip injury management as he continues to ramp up toward a return to where he's going to be playing some games. But as everybody knows, Andre Iguodala is somebody that the Warriors are counting on, not for games in October or November or December or January or even February or March, maybe a few in April, hopefully a few more in May, but obviously his leadership and presence on the roster is something that's welcomed by one and all. But Iguodala still out to the left hip injury management. So that is your injury report, which is brought to you by Boxer and Gerson here on 95.7 The Game. As Warriors Live rolls on here, John Dickinson inside Chase Center as the Warriors and the Kings set to go in this one from downtown San Francisco. You look at Mike Brown and his return after the 6 years with the Warriors, an integral part of the Warriors winning 3 championships. That is something that I do think is a storyline, and can what he's learned after some successful stints as a head coach. I mean, he was highly successful with Cleveland, had a bit of a rough go there with the Lakers, but he's somebody that sat back and I think really relished another opportunity to get a head coaching job. I know he spoke about that the other night before the Kings opener, just the fact that he always thought at some point he would be able to get another head coaching job. Met with some teams, it didn't quite work out, other teams going in different directions, but loving his time and his ability to help the Warriors as somebody that really helped on the offense originally for the Warriors, helped on the defensive side almost as a defensive coordinator at other times, was the guy with the rotation sheet for Steve Kerr, mapping everything out and making sure Steve Kerr's head was in the right space. I think in game when everything can get a little bit chaotic. Another theme for the Warriors in this one, as you look at what went wrong against Denver and what potentially can go right for the Warriors in this ball game tonight, and that is the bench. We talked about the beginning of the game is where the Warriors lost it, but the bench is also where the Warriors lost it with just net negatives, -20, -10, -14, -13, just running down from Jordan Poole to JaMychal Green to Jonathan Kuminga to Wiseman, DiVincenzo. I'm curious to see, and we'll hear from Steve Kerr here momentarily about trying to get Jordan Poole going, although he's the last player that I'm worried about getting going for the Warriors. I'm in the Andrew Wiggins camp on Jordan Poole. Wiggins said after the game Friday night, hey, he's going to have a big game. Like he's due and it's going to happen. And Jordan Poole being able to score the basketball and function as an elite 6-man in this league, like that's if it's not tonight, it's going to be Tuesday. If it's not Tuesday, it's going to be Thursday. But it's coming, and so I'm not worried at all about Jordan Poole. I am, though, more concerned about some of the others and some of the younger players specifically. You look at James Wiseman, who continues to be pretty comfortable on the offensive side. How comfortable is he on the defensive side? I think that becomes a key to monitor in this one. And then I wonder if Steve Kerr goes away from the Jonathan Kuminga at the 3, JaMychal Green at the 4, and James Wiseman at the 5 lineup. He went to Moody in the second half over Kuminga. He didn't play Dante DiVincenzo in the second half after he had really struggled in the first half. But I really wonder, does Moses Moody wind up getting those Kuminga minutes, or does Steve Kerr just wedge Moody in there as well and just play 11 by design? But I think part of the issue still, and Steve Kerr alluded to this after the game, the spacing issue when you have Kuminga, not a great shooter, out there with JaMychal Green, who can make some threes, and then Wiseman, who obviously is going to be playing more in the interior. There just isn't a lot of spacing on the floor, even if those three are out there with a Jordan Poole and a DiVincenzo, or even if they're out there with a Steph Curry and a DiVincenzo for certain stretches to be effective. I know they played well in the preseason, but I think that's something to keep an eye on here tonight. Is there a change in terms of the first half rotation for Steve Kerr, and is this the kind of game where maybe Moses Moody winds up getting some of the run over a guy like Jonathan Kuminga with JaMychal Green and James Wiseman in the front line? And does Moody provide more three-point shooting? Does Moody provide more spacing? Does that put the Warriors in a better position to be a little bit more fluid on the offensive end? And frankly, does it help Jordan Poole get going to have somebody that's a little bit more of a threat to hit a shot that the defense has to account for? Does it allow him to maybe get working and get the two-man game working even with Wiseman, where JaMychal Green can maybe get some kickouts, Moody can get some kickouts, and then Dante DiVincenzo can get some kickouts and or look to get in the lane and have the ability to create some kind of different offense for others. So that's one big thing that I would watch for tonight for the Warriors. Can they get off to a better start in this one defensively, set a tone that they are going to be felt on that end, and can they fix what has been a little bit of a problematic bench? Let's hear from Steve Kerr just real quick. He was asked a couple of different questions about getting the bench going. This one was more about Jordan Poole. We'll hear from the head coach here.
Well, it's on everybody. It's on me, on Jordan, on the whole group. Like I said, it's a group that hasn't played much together, so we need to give them some time. And then there's a couple things we can tweak and places I can put Jordan in a better position to have some space. So we'll try to do that a little bit tonight. But I don't worry about him. After what I've seen the last couple of years, we know who Jordan is. That's why we gave him the contract we gave him. He's a guy who deeply cares about the game and about his performance. You like that, but at the same time, it's like it's a long season. Don't worry about a couple tough games.
Yeah, it is a long season, and I'm not worried about it. I'm right there with you, Steve. I'm interested to see what the tweaks are. Some have said Poole's maybe a little too concerned about being a playmaker and not just trying to go get his. So that's something to keep an eye on as well tonight. We'll make sure to bookmark it, make a note of it, and talk about it after the ball game here on Warriors wrap-up on 95.7, the game following the Dubs and the Kings. It is Warriors Live. It is sponsored by Xfinity Internet. Better streaming with our Flex 4K device, voice remote, and Peacock Premium, all at no extra cost, no strings attached. Again, the Dubs and the Kings coming up here on 95.7, the game. Let's get to our Warriors Advantage for this one, our Warriors Advantage. Brought to you by United Healthcare, offering Medicare Advantage plans. Go to uhc.com for more information. The advantage for the Warriors is offensive firepower. Now, I know I just talked about the defense for the last 5-10 minutes, but offensive firepower is still an advantage that makes things go for the Warriors, and that coupled with a Kings team that for the most part in these first two games has been pretty unwilling to defend at a consistent level, I think gives the Warriors a shot to put up a big number offensively in this one. You don't want it to be the kind of game where you're trying to win it solely because of your offense, because I think that can get you bit. We've seen that get the Warriors bit against other teams. It bit them Friday night. It's bitten them against the Kings at different times over the years where the Kings have brought an offensive equipped team in. But yeah, it's defense optional, and part of the reason Mike Brown got that job was to fix it, and there have been small stretches in these first two games and watching Sacramento where they've been able to execute that, but for the most part, Portland, when they have executed their offense, and the Clippers last night, Paul George went for 40, had been able to execute their offense at a high level. So if the Warriors can stay patient, ball movement, they've got all their horses in this one. I think this could be the kind of game where the Warriors put up a big number in terms of having the overall offensive firepower. Don't sleep on the Kings' firepower, but the Warriors have more firepower. That's your Warriors advantage for this one tonight, brought to you by United Healthcare, again offering Medicare Advantage plans. go to uhc.com for more information. Getting you through the lineups here, projected starters for the Warriors, of course, Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson. Look for his minutes to get ramped up a little bit from where they've been these first couple of games. Add another 2 minutes to the Klay Thompson count there. Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, of course, and Kevon Looney. Sacramento, they have been starting De'Aaron Fox, Kevin Huerter, Harrison Barnes, Domantas Sabonis, and KZ Okpala, who had been with the Heat. Good defender, but at times you're playing 4-on-5 if he's on the floor. On the offensive side, he has been the starter. I know Keegan Murray on a little bit of a minutes watch. I wouldn't call it a restriction coming off of COVID. He played 33 minutes last night, did Keegan Murray. So we'll see where things stand for him. I wonder if maybe Mike Brown puts him in the starting lineup, although potentially not after the back-to-back. So that'll do it for me. I'm back after the ball game. Keep it locked right here. Tim and Tom, they got the call. And it's all straight ahead. Should be a fun one. It usually is when the Warriors and the Kings go at it. Talk to you after the ball game, but keep it locked right here on your home for Golden State Warriors basketball. It's 95.7 The Game.
So what are you reading?
I'm checking out the ratings on the new TVs, and it looks like Samsung, LG, and Sony got the best scores.
Just like last year. What about those new high dynamic range TVs?
They got the highest scores of all, but their prices are really high.
Did you check online?
Yeah, their prices were about the same.
Well, there's one place where we can get a hot deal on those top-rated models.
Where?
At Video Only. Check out the ratings on TV stores.
I see. Video Only scored better than the others.
So, if you want the best deal on the best TVs,
then we should take our TV ratings and head over to top-rated Video Only.